Hello and welcome to I Can't Believe This Got Greenlit, a show where we discuss movies from our childhood, our nostalgia from watching them as kids, how they got made, and our experiences rewatching them as adults. I'm one of your hosts, Cindy Lou Who, and joining me as always, the Grinch.
That was just wrong. That was just wrong. You made yourself a cute little girl.
And you're the Grinch. I'm sorry.
That was evil. Listen, I know I have a reputation of hating every movie we cover on this show, okay? I'm not the Grinch.
It's okay. I thought it was fun to spice things up because it's our Christmas episode. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, dude. Happy holidays.
I know. I'm so excited to be here to talk today about a movie from our childhood, definitely, and also
around the time
from every era of my life. We're talking today about the movie from the year 2000, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Oh, it's from 2000?
Yeah.
Oh, so we weren't born yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
This is a pre-9/11 movie. How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey, and I'm very excited. But before we do that,
I'm so nervous what you're about to say.
No, it's not bad. I promise.
What are you about to do to
in
me?
a very Seuss in a very Seuss way, I want to introduce the show.
Okay.
With a rhyme.
No, you didn't.
Dr. Seuss
You did
rhyme.
not make a Dr. Seuss rhyme.
Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be. I'm trying.
Okay, here we go. Every Wednesday at 9, sit two dorks in a room to talk about the movies they saw right out the womb. They laugh and they cry at the worst and the best of movies that really put their patience to the test. Sometimes these movies make their brains start hurting, except for the movies that feature Patrick Warburton. With all of that said, I say we start the show right after we thank Robert Rodriguez and his movies, which we watched oh so long ago.
That was beautiful. Nick, that was beautiful. Oh my God.
There you go. I started watching this movie and they were immediately doing like the Seuss rhyming,
You
and I was
knew.
like, I can't.
Greenlit
not
has
do
to
this.
start like this. That was amazing.
Thank you so much. I told Pelton about this before the show, and he got really nervous really quick. And I was like, no. It's a good thing.
Well,
it's a cute little intro.
We like sit down like a minute before the show, and Nick's like, "Okay, so I'm gonna do something before we start, and I'm not gonna
Bear
tell you
with me.
anything
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna do." I was like, "Excuse me? Like, am I
And
getting
you're
fired?"
Yeah. Okay, diving right into this movie because there is a lot to talk about.
Okay.
I feel like we're at the caliber. I think specifically just because of the way this movie looks, not so much the content, but of Cat in the Hat. And that was a very insane episode.
Yeah,
so
it was.
I want to start with you for childhood stories.
Okay.
Anything special about this movie?
Kind of. This is also becoming a similar theme this season, where like I don't have a direct childhood story,
Okay.
but the Grinch, like himself as a character,
Mm-hmm.
I love him.
Oh,
Like, he's been huge my whole life.
not this one.
Not this specific
Oh,
version, though.
oh.
Yeah, like the Grinch as a
I
whole.
was like, yes.
Well, kind of. So,
Okay.
like, one of my dad's favorite Christmas movies, therefore one of me and my brother's favorite Christmas movies, is the original animated one from like the 70s.
Yeah, that thing rules.
Yeah, that thing's awesome. It's
Yeah.
like 20 minutes.
That's
It's
incredible.
just the story. It's so good. So we grew up like watching that once a year. So Grinch was big. And then I think that at one point there was like a Grinch musical. And I think my mom
Oh.
took us to that because I remember being little and we had like the little Grinch gloves. We'd always run around with the little
really?
Grinch gloves. Yeah, it was so much fun.
Well, they do like a stage show at Universal, but I don't know if.
I don't know. I don't know where it was. We were
Yeah.
young though. We were really young.
Oh, okay.
So I don't remember.
They might have
But
just did it like in town.
honestly could have.
Yeah, maybe.
But Grinch was like huge.
Okay.
But this one, I know I've seen it because I remember a couple scenes. When we get to the scenes, I'll be like, yeah, that was one. But it was never like huge.
Mhm.
It wasn't like once a year, like, oh, we got to do Jim Carrey's Grinch. It
Ah.
was, we got to watch the animated
There
original.
it is. There's the difference.
There's the difference. We went old school we went back to the 70s.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you went Carrey.
Well, okay. Here's the thing: it's kind of both because
Oh.
in a similar fashion, growing up, I watched the animated one almost exclusively.
Yeah, the go of Grinch movie.
Yeah, it's easily the best. I'm not gonna even challenge that.
No.
But when I got to the age where I started kind of steering away from animated films, I started going really heavy into the Jim Carrey version.
Oh, interesting.
I loved this movie as a kid, like
Okay.
so very much. I thought the humor was fantastic. And then also, like I loved the Grinch, but I also registered that it was nightmare fuel. Like I knew objectively that it was terrifying.
This is chaos.
It's absolute pure chaos.
Pure, unfiltered chaos.
It's insane. But yes, I grew up loving this movie, and we'll see if that holds up today.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see what happened to you.
I want to point out that because it's our Christmas special, I would say, Christmas episode, I have my Captain America Christmas sweater.
He does.
on,
I didn't come
so
prepared
excited.
whatsoever.
That's okay.
Well, I am
In the
wearing
holiday cheer.
a women's double
Great
XL
Wolf
Great
Lodge.
Wolf Lodge shirt, so I got that. But
Hey, that works in my books. It's festive enough.
well, just
Okay.
come. How about this? Let's a little plug. Tune in next week. I'll have a little special outfit.
Oh,
That's all
yeah.
I'm gonna say.
I'm
That's
so
all I'm gonna
excited.
say.
We'll get to that. Okay, going right into the production because I feel like this is going to be the most notes on production in a hot second.
Because even I've heard of a couple of these things.
A lot.
Like this has a
There's a
famous, some details to this. Yeah,
Okay, starting off really light. This movie's directed by Ron Howard.
which I did not
which is
know.
awesome.
Yeah, I did not know that at all.
I knew this, I think, in the past like 4 or 5 years when Grinch came on to Netflix, because that was like a big thing a couple years ago.
Yeah, it was on Netflix.
That's when I was like, oh my God, Ron Howard? That's insane. If you don't know Ron Howard, look him up. He's the best. He's also the producer of Curious George, but
Yes.
we'll get to that.
Also, the voice of the Arrested Development guy. Fun
Yes,
fact. Yeah,
yeah.
the main narrator.
I want to say is he also a producer on
I
that
think
show?
so.
I want to
know
say
he-
that
he
he's like
plays
one
a
of the
part.
main producers.
Yeah, he's
Pretty
a big part of that show.
But this movie was produced predominantly by a guy named Brian Grazer, who's also the producer of The Cat in the Hat.
Oh, brother.
which
Here we
is
go.
Great.
Here we go. Same
The
team.
production company was Imagine Entertainment, which is Ron Howard's
Yep.
production company.
Yeah.
And Universal Studios, which they did Curious
That-
George and Cat in the Hat.
I was about to say,
Imagine
they did both, right?
Yeah. The cinematography was done by Don Peterman, who weirdly also didn't do Cat in the Hat, but they look almost identical,
Now, by the way, what
which is strange.
came first?
I want to say the Grinch came first, and then Cat in the Hat, I
in the
believe,
Hat
was
was
2003.
second?
Yeah. Because this is 2000. I want to say Cat in the Hat was 2000.
2003?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Because
sure.
I'm assuming this was a big enough success that they probably made Cat in the Hat second.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
which
yeah,
tanked, didn't it? Didn't that do
Yeah, that
horrible?
was horrible, and I'm pretty sure they didn't do.
And that was
Yeah,
the
no, they
end.
didn't really do any Seuss live action.
Yeah, Cat in the Hat
Not like
was
that.
2003.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, not anything like that. But yes, moving right along, they built most of the sets on the Universal backlot, which I think is funny because it was immediately behind the Bates Motel from Psycho. so it's like they took this like iconic backlot thing, and they were just like, we're gonna build Whoville directly behind it.
And they're both nightmares.
Yeah, they're both nightmares.
That's so fitting. Also, I will say, and there's like specific, again, we'll get into specifics later
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
But for a lot of these scenes, you can tell it's a backlot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this does not feel like a real setting
Not at all.
whatsoever.
Which arguably adds to it because it's
Sometimes,
Whoville. It
yeah.
takes place in a snowflake.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes it does add
It's
to
supposed
it.
to be a wacky, silly little thing. But yeah, so a cool thing about it is within its first week of release, the film sold 3 million DVD copies in
Ooh,
1 week.
whoa.
First week. And 4 million VHS copies, and would go on to sell a total of 16.9 million copies in December 2001 alone,
Just in December.
Just in
That's
December.
crazy.
totaling to $296 million.
What was the budget? Do you know?
VHS. Budget was $123 million.
It made bank.
It made bank.
It made bank.
It made bank.
Hence
And
the Cat in the
it
Hat.
grossed, so it made $296 in just VHS, like home video.
Yeah.
And then in theaters, it grossed $346. So it made $500 million.
It made over $500 million.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So this is the movie that made us watch the worst movie ever.
Yeah.
Like Cat in the Hat wouldn't exist if it's the Grinch's fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Grinch directly caused Cat in the Hat.
It's fully Ron Howard's fault.
Shocker. It's always Ron Howard.
Well, we'll get to that because it almost wasn't Ron Howard.
Oh, really?
Yo,
Okay.
big time. There's a big story, but we'll get to that in a second. But anyways, it joined Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, Shrek, and The Mummy Returns as one of the only 4 films to sell more than 2 million DVD copies in their opening weeks. So it's in that caliber, which is
it's
awesome.
no joke.
It won an Oscar for Best Makeup.
Okay,
Naturally.
I feel like that's fitting.
Yeah.
Especially for the Grinch. He looks fantastic.
Right. And then something I noticed in particular that wasn't really brought up a lot in like production notes specifically,
Okay.
but as a big theme park Universal fan,
Sure.
obviously bringing it all back, there were a lot of Dutch angles in this movie.
Even I noticed that
Tons.
too. There's a lot of Dutchies.
And the thing about it that connects it to theme parks is I believe that they wanted to create a world where nothing was kind of upright. They wanted to create that weird, wacky world of Dr. Seuss.
Everything's all diagonal.
Exactly.
Yeah, nothing
Now,
straight.
In Seuss Landing, which is in Universal
What is that?
Studios, It's like the Dr. Seuss themed land.
Oh, I didn't know that existed.
It's awesome.
Okay.
But also complete nightmare fuel. Everything there is like still from the 90s. Nothing has been updated. And it's like absolutely terrifying. But I will say it looks stunning.
Okay. That's cool.
And they specifically designed the land to not have a single straight line. So everything is curved. Everything is kind of wacky and wonky. Exactly. Yeah. And so I noticed that about halfway through the film, and I was like, or not even, probably earlier on, and I was like, oh wow, this is awesome. Like this is very reminiscent of the land.
Yeah,
maybe the land.
They were going for a very specific vibe for all of this.
Yeah, exactly. So now going into one of two very big stories surrounding this. So bear with me here, it's a lot. So Dr. Seuss himself,
yes,
refused to sell the rights, and I believe we brought this up vaguely in Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, I remember.
But he refused to sell the rights to his books. But when he died, his widow agreed to sell the rights to many of his books, this one included, under a few very specific conditions.
Which I think I don't remember what I said in Cat in the Hat. I think that's just wrong.
No, it's horrible.
That's messed up.
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
He said no to the day he died. Like, come on.
That's like how Spielberg said, like, you're never going to make an E.T. sequel until the day I die. I am dreading the day they make an E.T. sequel.
You know, like when Tim Burton drops dead, they're doing Night Before Christmas too.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
But no one else is.
Well, we're going to go.
I'll be there opening night. I'll be there for the early access.
You'll be in costume.
I'll be on the production team.
We'll be directing it. Nick, we're writing the movie.
We are actively on contract.
We're waiting for Tim Burton to die.
Yeah. We have a hit out on him. Okay. So basically, here are the conditions that she said in order for the Grinch to be
You can only make the Grinch if you do these things.
Yes. Whoever wanted to make the movie must be willing to give herself $5 million, 4% of the box office gross, which if you do the math ended up being $13.8 million.
Oh, okay. Good for her.
50% of the merchandising and music related revenue.
Okay.
And 70% of the revenue to book tie-ins after the movie is made.
Oh,
so she was making so much money.
Okay, can I be so honest with you? I was really hoping she was like, hey, you can make a movie if you do these things, and it'd be like creative things.
No, yeah, she just wanted money.
It's all money.
Yeah.
She sold out so quick.
The list doesn't end there.
There's more?
Yes. She also stated that the actor playing the role had to be of the caliber of Jack Nicholson, Robin Williams, Dustin Hoffman, and Jim Carrey.
Oh, there you go.
So she did list, but it was those four. She was like, if you don't pitch me one of these four, you're not making it.
Yeah, I say no.
Which
has
is
to be
crazy.
A big name.
Yeah. No, but not even. She was like, these four.
Oh, it was like, I thought it was of the caliber of these four.
I think that was the exact wording, but what ended up happening, we'll get to that, is a lot of the companies pitched it with those actors attached.
Oh, I see.
Because they were kind of fighting for the top billing. But yes, and she also stated that she wouldn't even consider someone for the role of writer or director that hadn't made at least $1 million in the box office on a previous project.
That's insane.
Yeah, so she wasn't even considering.
I don't like that last one.
No.
Because I haven't made $1 billion.
No.
I don't make any money.
Yes. So 20th Century Fox pitched its version with Jack Nicholson attached, which is insane.
As Grinch?
Yeah.
That would be insane.
Yeah. And Seuss's widow turned it down, weirdly enough, even though she
threw that name out in the first place.
Openly, yeah. And then Universal convinced Ron Howard to pitch his version, or like their version of the movie, eventually attaching Jim Carrey and Tim Burton. So that was initially who was going to direct.
Which would make sense.
Yeah. And Ron Howard was going to produce. That was the whole thing. To direct, and then he dropped out due to scheduling conflicts with Sleepy Hollow. And then Ron Howard, after kind of arguments in the studio, stepped up to direct, and Jeffrey Price and Peter Seaman stepped up to write the film, who were also the writers of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, pretty so all acclaimed people.
Yes.
Like, which it's a creative.
You have to be for
crew.
her.
Well, yeah.
For her standards.
She also approved the Cat in the Hat.
True.
So,
I will say, though, she disapproved of a lot of the jokes in this film, including a joke about a Jewish type, like, person.
Yeah.
Like one of the Who's. Yeah. That didn't get presents at all because they didn't celebrate Christmas.
Oh.
And a stuffed trophy of the Cat in the Hat in the Grinch's lair.
I feel like that's a cool little Easter egg.
That's what I was saying.
That. Yeah. The first one I understand, but.
Yeah. And then they eventually hired 3 Seinfeld writers to do an uncredited rewrite to punch it up.
Oh, wow.
Which is wild.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if, is that like a punch up after filming or before filming?
No, after the script was written. So they gave it
so they're
to
still in
Seuss's
pre-production.
widow. Yeah.
Okay.
And then she was like, I don't like these jokes. You got to cut them. And then they brought these writers in to kind of punch it up. But they go uncredited.
See, I thought a lot of it, especially Carrie stuff, was like improv.
I'm pretty sure most of it is.
Oh, it
But
is.
She just didn't like that, like a few specific jokes that were written in the script.
Yeah, she's like,
even though on set they like went kind of
either like, hey, do your own thing.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. But yes, it's also interesting to note a lot of podcasts I listen to talk about kind of rewrites and punch ups and how a lot of times they go uncredited, but they make pretty good money off of that.
I've heard that.
Just doing like, uncredited rewrites. Also, it is weird, like if your kid is like, "Oh, I love this movie," and you're like, I rewrote most of it, and then they're like, "No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
You don't have a credit on it. What are you talking
You're
about?"
not on it whatsoever. Because I remember, I don't know if it was a professor at Emerson or it was Ron, our robots writer,
sure.
friend of the show. But I remember someone being like, "Hey, you see a lot of movies, especially like big Hollywood movies, that say like written by blank, and they're awful."
Yeah.
And you're like, how did this ever get made? How was this written? How is this like person proud of this?
Yeah. I think
it turns out, I think it was Ron.
Yeah.
And it turns out, no, they wrote it like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been rewritten 20 times
Because
by names you'll never
studio.
hear of, by studios. So
It ended up being horrible.
it's horrendous.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird, like, it's uncredited, which is kind of sucks for the writers that are writing it and not getting any credit, but they're making bank, which is good.
Yeah.
They should be making bank. But at the same time,
should be getting credit.
They should be getting credit. And also, the original guy, it's not really his script anymore.
No, well, that's what happened with robots.
It happened with robots.
Yeah, it was
So,
his
like,
idea, and then it turned into completely the opposite of what we found out in the episode. Completely opposite of what he originally
complete
intended
opposite.
it to be.
And between the two of us, I don't know if he really likes robots that much.
I don't think so either.
He had a weird vibe about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel bad, like, some writers get made fun of, but it's probably not even their fault.
Yeah.
It's not even their story anymore.
Yeah. It's also funny that you say between the two of us as if we don't have an audience. Between us and our audience. That he didn't like it.
Yeah.
It's okay. But anyway, so the second like major story, which I find incredibly interesting because I get it. Like
This
I
might be the
understand.
one I know.
About Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it took 2.5 hours to get into the Grinch costume and the makeup for Jim Carrey. And he supposedly repeatedly described the process similar to being buried alive.
Yeah.
Which is
it was brutal.
bonkers. And he got so frustrated and uncomfortable with the process that one day he kicked a hole in a wall and stormed off. And then in the first 2 weeks of the shooting schedule, they only got 3 actual days done.
Oh.
Because he kept storming off set and disappearing for hours. And then he would return with the makeup and suit just completely destroyed and ripped off his body. Because he was like, it feels like I'm like literally being suffocated and buried alive. I can't do it. And he would just rip it off. And he'd just leave frustrated.
I get it.
Oh, no, I fully understand.
I'm on Carrie's side.
Yeah, same.
Like, I know for like the crew, I'm sure that's super frustrating, but it's
as
as
a
good as
producer.
torture.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're producer.
Yeah,
you
I was
probably
going to
hate
say
him.
that would 3 days out of 2 weeks, I would lose my
Dude,
mind.
that's true.
That's
You'd be freaking
3
out.
out of 4. So 11 of those days just got lit on fire.
We'll be on our sets, which are so low stakes, and we'll be like 5 minutes behind. You're like, you freak out.
Well, I mean, yeah.
You're like, no, we have to go.
Well, we do.
Imagine 2 weeks, 3 days.
I could never.
I think you would die. I think you would actually die.
Well, that's why like a lot of like high pressure jobs, people get like gray hair really fast. Like they age
quick,
really,
especially in this industry.
Yeah.
It's over.
Like even like I remember seeing pictures of Obama when he first got in, and then when he left,
At the end,
he aged in like 8 years. He aged like 50 years.
He did.
Like, it's insane. Like I just
It was hard to watch. I felt bad for him.
I'm questioning all of my life choices. No, but so that's like kind of the big thing. But then yeah, Ron Howard convinced him that he was like the most vital part of the movie, obviously, and he eventually agreed to try and calm his anger. And they did. This is the funny part. They did this by bringing in a specialist on methods of enduring torture.
This is what I've heard. He got trained in how to endure torture for this role. Isn't that wild?
It's criminally insane. Yeah. Like that shouldn't be what you have to do.
This
for
is
a
what
role.
they teach like soldiers. It's not Jim Carrey.
No,
that's wild.
And now he just knows.
He knows forever.
That's insane. But yeah, those are kind of the two major jumping off points I had. And also it's weird because this time around, typically, a little peek behind the curtain here, typically I do the production notes prior to watching the movie. So when I go and watch the movie, I want to say that a lot of the reason I end up liking movies on this show a little bit more than I think I normally would is because I know the
Mr.
whole
Grinch over here.
process. Yeah, no. No, but I know like the entire process and like what it actually took. And,
That's fair.
Like I remember like the Pan's Labyrinth story of like he lost the book and I was like, this is beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah. And just like a lot of, and like the entire production of Emperor's New Groove. Like I just had a newfound appreciation after watching the film. But this time I did it in opposite order. So I watched the movie, I had my opinions on it, and then I did my
found
research.
out the way I do it.
Right.
Yeah, because you just tell me
Then
live
you
on
just
air.
find out now.
Yeah, just find out right now.
But yeah, so it was kind of a reverse process, and it was interesting.
Different viewing experience, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for better or for worse, but it was just interesting.
Just different.
That it was different.
Yeah, it's just different.
But that's kind of all I have on production.
I have a very small one.
Yeah, please.
So I think I was watching this movie literally 2 hours ago. I just watched it.
Yeah.
And about like 5 minutes in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I came prepared. But about 5 minutes in, I forget why, but I looked up the cast of this movie because I think I recognized someone. I looked up the cast. And did you know Bryce Dallas Howard was in this movie?
What?
Yeah, Ron Howard's daughter.
No, I know.
Yeah, she's in this.
What?
She was like,
Where?
I don't
When?
know, but it was 2000, so she was young, like a kid.
Yeah.
And she's listed as like Scared Who. So I think she's just like a cameo in the back somewhere.
Wait a minute.
I couldn't find
Is
her.
she one of the teenagers that goes up to the mountain and then gets scared
I don't
down
know.
the mountain? Because that might be the case, because she's in her 40s now, isn't she? This was 20 years ago, so it might. She might have been in her like teens, because there was a scene very early on where like four Who's, they're all teenagers, walk up the mountain. It's 2 guys, 2 girls, and the girls like dare.
42.
That's what I'm saying. This was 20 years ago, 23 years ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find it. I remember I saw it, and for the rest of the movie, I was trying to find her, and I couldn't.
I want to say that was her, because that means she was around 20 when this.
I have the answer.
Came out. Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
You want a drum roll? It was not her.
Oh,
Here she is in the movie, though.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Actually, people at home, you should look her up because she looks pretty funny in the movie.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
gonna lie.
pretty. Does she have braces?
She has braces. Yeah,
Ooh, braces
giant
on the
buck
giant teeth.
Yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
she's just like way in the back. It's just a fun little
It's
cameo.
also strange because like no one else has braces, but they all have the same teeth.
Oh yeah,
That doesn't really make sense.
that's true. Also, they grow into their nose apparently as well.
Yeah.
There's weird rules to this universe.
Also,
I'm
do
not
you know
super
how they
sure,
like
but-
did that?
No, the nose.
Yeah, they taped their upper lip to their nose and they added the prosthetic that way. Isn't that insane?
That sucks.
Yeah.
That must have been a nightmare to act. Are you kidding me?
Well, because they do that now with the Universal like stage production of the Grinch.
Oh, they
That's how
do?
they do the hair and makeup. Yeah,
Oh.
that's how they do it for most like Whoville.
Yeah, like Dr.
performances.
Seuss-esque
Yeah.
stuff.
It's crazy.
That's awful.
So they do, upper lip to the nose.
Is that how
and
they
they
probably
add the
did they do that
prosthetic
with
over
the
it.
Cat in the Hat as well?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they all kind of look
they all,
similar.
yeah,
with
it's a
the
very
nose.
Seussian look. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's how they do it.
That's awful.
It's weird. I can't even imagine trying to
Yeah, that sucks.
speak normally.
Trying to talk like this the
Yeah.
whole time.
There you go. You're cast.
Whatever. I'm pretty good at it.
But anyways, that's all I have on production. Going into the plot of this film,
Yeah.
I'm very curious
wild plot of this film.
to hear your opinions on some of these things, because there are some similar to Cat in the Hat. You know the base. Most people know the base story.
Especially for Grinch.
Exactly.
I feel like Grinch is probably more.
What? It's
than
like
Cat
a
in the Hat.
5-minute. Like you can
Yeah.
kind of. It's like
Probably
you have
5 to
2
10
songs,
minutes. Yes.
and then it's like he is abandoned by the town.
Yeah.
Hates Christmas, steals Christmas, gives it back, heart grows.
The end. The end.
But how do you make that an hour and a half?
Well,
you add lots and lots of bits,
I think
similar to Cat in the Hat.
I think that's the biggest hurdle in doing any Seuss movie.
Yeah.
I think that also goes for like the Lorax,
Yeah.
the new Grinch they did with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Horton Hears a Who.
Horton Hears a Who. Greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any Seuss movie you do, your biggest challenge would be these stories are 10 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
A movie has to be like an hour minimum.
Sometimes less.
Sometimes
Yeah.
less if you're Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right.
It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And we'll see how this movie did it.
Well-
what did they come up with, Nick?
I will say, we open with a Dr. Seuss-like voiceover explaining how this story takes place in a snowflake, which I never knew until this viewing.
I didn't either.
I didn't put that
I
together.
also didn't know
until
the
this
narration was Anthony Hopkins.
viewing. What? Wait, what?
Did you not know that?
No.
Dude, yeah, it's Anthony Hopkins.
Are you serious?
I swear to God.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy?
I didn't know they. But anyways, from that like voiceover, I paused the movie within 30 seconds and wrote that intro. The
Did
like
you really?
rhyming of Greenlit. I was trying to come up with something in my head, and I was like, I need to pause this and actually think about it, because I was like,
That's
I
awesome.
can't just like do it on the fly and then like forget.
You know,
So-
you have to sit down and write it.
Exactly.
Very professional
Thank
over
you.
there, yeah.
But then we go to Whoville, which is my favorite place ever. Where we see that Christmas is the best time of year for them.
They love it. It's all
But
they do.
Weirdly enough, this is the whole like subplot of this movie they're all very like materialistic.
Yeah.
They don't care about the real like spirit of Christmas. To them, the spirit of Christmas is material items, buying
Yes.
things, maxing out credit cards, getting
Yeah.
all the physical items you possibly can. And if you don't do that, then you don't have the spirit of Christmas.
Which is the polar opposite of what they're supposed to be.
Exactly.
Like literally the polar opposite of the Who's.
Yeah.
Which already there's gonna be two big things I have with this movie.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, two big complaints.
Yeah.
One of them is this.
Yeah. Oh, and I agree.
Yeah.
For some reason, again, it took me up until this viewing to like really realize this aspect of the movie.
Yeah. Like
Anyways,
it's
go
very
ahead,
much
sorry.
like a materialistic thing.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was gonna say. It's just kind of the Who's, at least and I know I keep comparing it to the original, which isn't 100% fair, but the Who's, their whole point is that like they know Christmas is about being together. And they
Right.
love it.
Yeah.
And when the Grinch takes it, they don't even hesitate. They're like, oh, we don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
They
we're having a
sing
good
and they're
time
all with each other
without
and their
hesitation.
family.
Yeah. And this one is the polar opposite,
Yeah.
where they're so materialistic. I'm like, oh, these aren't the Who's whatsoever.
Right.
And even like, and I'm sure like I would have brought it up when we got to the scene, but I'll also kind of jump ahead a little bit.
Sure.
Because we all know the story.
Yeah.
But when they all wake up and the Grinch took Christmas, they do care. At first, they're so upset.
Yeah.
The Grinch took all our gifts. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, you so missed the point.
Yeah.
Like, you so missed the point.
And I kind of get that they had to sort of write like a character arc
for the Who's. I know.
But at the same time, it's like that's not the Who.
No.
Like
and,
you don't get to what the Who's actually are until the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is horrible.
Sucks. Like that's what makes the Who so great in the original is when the Grinch stole it.
So what?
It didn't even bother them. What's like without even thinking, they just went right into singing.
Yeah.
But in this one, they were so mad. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you assassinated the Who's.
Right.
These are not the Who's. I don't know who these people are, but they're not my
I don't
Who's.
know.
They're not my Who's.
I don't know who they.
I don't know who or what they are.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But yeah, so we kind of open with all the Who's doing their shopping, including Cindy Lou Who.
Not my Cindy.
No, not my Cindy. Hashtag not my
Hashtag not my Who's.
Not my Who's. And her dad, who's the postmaster. He's the mailman.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we immediately are introduced to the Grinch. And he goes down to the town to wreak havoc. He puts on like a little
don't a bunch of
costume.
teenagers screw with them or something. He's
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna go down. Screw with them.
That's what I thought.
Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah.
I always forget that she's the daughter of
Ron Howard.
And
Yeah,
I
it's
remember
really
their last
weird.
names are the same, and I'm like, oh right.
Yep.
And they look the same, but anyways,
Both ginger.
Nepo baby. Anyways, I'm pretty. Wasn't Ron Howard also Nepo? Anyways,
Was
that's
he?
a different. Maybe I don't know. I
don't know if he is.
But regardless, yeah. So the 4 teenagers come up. They're messing around. They're looking for mistletoe in the spirit of Christmas. And then
Right.
they come across the Grinch's cave. They're like, oh, it's not real. It's not real. And then the Grinch comes out and scares them. And the Grinch is like, nah, I've had enough.
I'm going down.
I'm going down. So he puts on a
screwing
mask.
with
He
them.
puts on like a little
Yeah.
cloak. And he goes down and he messes with them. And then Cindy Lou Who, is trying to figure out why all the Who's are spending so much money and not really caring about the joy of Christmas. This is kind of her driving like character arc.
Yeah.
And again, I understand why, because it's an hour and a half.
I know.
But it's not.
She's the only Who that acts like a Who.
I know.
It's so
and also,
upsetting.
she's so adorable. Like,
She
she's
is.
so sweet.
She really is.
Oh my God.
And I have a fun fact about her.
She makes music now?
Yeah, you knew about that?
No, I didn't until I did research on the movie.
Oh. Yeah, it's fair. She's like a huge artist. Wait, she's the lead singer of a band.
Called the Beatles. No.
Yeah, called the Rolling Stones. Called the Pretty Reckless.
Okay.
And I looked into them on Spotify. Their biggest song is like 10 million
Whoa.
plays. They're big. Like, I've heard of this band.
Cindy Lou Who is like,
She's a big star. Like, she's a big musician now.
that's awesome.
Isn't that crazy?
Good for her.
I know.
I'm happy that she went on to be successful, even if it wasn't in film.
Just fully quit acting. Just,
yeah,
as
it's
part of the
probably
Pretty
because she was
Reckless
like, I don't believe in humanity after all these Who's.
band. I wouldn't either. Whoville.
But so, yes, the 4 teenager Who's who get scared off by the Grinch come running back to Whoville, saying that they saw the Grinch, but the mayor, who we now are introduced to, makes sure no one freaks out about it.
Played by Jeffrey Tambor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wah.
And we find out later why he doesn't really want to make a big deal out of it. They make this weird backstory with them.
Weird kind of love triangle thing. Yeah.
And Cindy, eventually, I'm kind of skipping over things, but this is just how the movie is paced.
It's a strange pacing.
Cindy tries to do a school. Again, she's trying to figure out who the Grinch is. That's her like main driving thing. She's like, why are people not in the real spirit of Christmas?
Yeah, what's the story
And
behind this
who
guy?
is this
What's
Grinch?
going on?
What's going on? And her dad kind of shrugs it off. Mayor shrugs it off. He's like, no one needs to talk about it. And she tries to do a school presentation on the Grinch, but eventually gets in trouble and questions her dad at work why no one wants to talk about him.
Yeah, what's up with the Grinch?
Yeah, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then she's sent off to go put mail away in the back for her dad's work because he's super busy because everything's
Yeah, someone shows
she
up.
She encounters the one, the only, the Grinch.
Me.
That'll never get old.
I was there.
Yeah. Pelton was there. And and then Pelton put her into the sorting machine, which is super dangerous.
Can we just call the Grinch Pelton
just Pelton,
the rest of the movie?
And then eventually he ends up saving her. And she's like, "Oh, thank you so much." And he's like, "What?
Don't say that.
No.
I didn't save you.
No, I didn't save you. What are you talking about?"
He gets mad.
So mad. And Cindy Lou's mom, then we cut away as see Cindy Lou's mom setting up an absurd amount of Christmas lights and says that she is trying to out-decorate Martha May Who, which is a weird little side
does
plot.
it?
It does at the end, but very minor. It's a very minor thing. But this is the only kind of introduction into the present day of Martha May.
Yeah.
Who comes later.
Playing a big character in this movie.
Massive. Which I don't know. She's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Martha May will come back. So stay tuned for that.
Yes.
And yeah, the Grinch goes back to his lair and Cindy Lou sings "Where Are You Christmas," which is so sweet.
It is really sweet.
And she tries to figure out, and I always forget that, and I don't know why, because like the Grinch song is like so famous, but I always forget that and this song are in the movie, but they're like the two most iconic moments in the movie.
Well, I will say the Grinch song.
Not the Grinch song. No.
That's number one.
Yeah.
This little Cindy Lou Who thing, it's big, but it's not Grinch song. Come on now.
But correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that this song, "Where Are You Christmas," an original of this movie?
I don't remember.
I want to say that it is. I don't want to, don't quote me on that, but
have us ask me in like a week or two, I'll know.
Sure.
But
point is, if it was, then I would argue that it's as big as the Grinch song because it's only in this movie, and for me at least.
For me. I was about to say if you walk up to like random people on the street and like give me the lyrics to both.
No,
people know the Grinch.
Sure. I'm saying for me because it reigned so like it
That's
was
fair.
so prevalent in my
I see what
childhood.
you're saying.
But
she's adorable. Yeah,
so
this song's adorable.
It's so sweet. She's trying to figure out.
I will say, for a kid actor, she does pretty good.
Fantastic.
She's really cute in this role.
Yeah.
She's so sweet. Yeah, I really like her a lot.
Yes. And then Cindy Lou interviews other members of Whoville.
Here we go.
To try and find out the origins of the Grinch.
Yes,
and they weirdly start with telling her where babies come from.
From baskets from the sky.
Yeah. And they say that he was a special Who child. And we see that he's an evil little dude.
It came out green and nasty.
Yeah. And in a quite sad backstory, I will say. Very sad.
Here we go.
We see that the Grinch had a big old crush on Martha May Who at the time also clearly liked him.
Yeah, I was about to say, she was in
big time. Yeah. She's staring at him during class.
Like,
twirling her hair.
Yeah, she had those gotta have him eyes, drool on her lips for the Grinch, okay?
Crazy. But at the time, and I don't know if this was actually true, but they said the mayor, the young mayor said that like they were together. The mayor and
he claims
Martha May,
that.
but she never says anything about
that. And he's known to lie about this
Yeah.
Grinch story, so I'm not sure if they actually were, but
very weird. But Grinch gets bullied so hard after trying to show his love for Martha and Christmas.
And shaving.
He
tries to shave.
Yeah. That he leaves Whoville and ends up hating Who's and Christmas as a whole.
Yes.
It's so sad.
And Nick, here's my second big complaint with this movie.
Martha May?
Not specifically Martha May. But one, that backstory is bizarre.
Yeah, it's very
it's
strange.
very strange. And you see like a little kid Grinch, and it's so off-putting.
Yeah.
But even outside of that, one of the biggest reasons I love the Grinch growing up, like why he stuck out, was that he's just this weird enigma. No one knows where he came from, if he's just immortal, how long he's lived on the cliff. That's cool. He's just this. He's almost like a cryptid. He's like a Mothman or Bigfoot.
Yeah.
He's just this weird thing that they don't even know if he's real or not. That is so much cooler than I went to school with him and he tried to shave to impress a girl. Like that was so
He comes
dumb.
down just the same way all the babies do. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was like, oh, he took all the coolness out of the Grinch.
That's fair. I will say, trying to give a backstory to an ambiguous figure like that.
Yeah.
Or like even in the prequel, or I'm sorry, the sequel to like the Harry Potter books. I don't know if you read it. Spoiler alert for everyone. I don't even know if you want
Cursed
me to.
Child?
Yeah.
I've never read it.
Do you care if I?
No.
Okay. They basically give like a little brief backstory in Voldemort, and he has a daughter. Like it doesn't, like that's my point. Is like giving a backstory to an ambiguous figure like
ruin
that could absolutely destroy.
You gotta
it.
be so careful.
And I fully agree that this was such a weird way of like it takes
Yeah.
the magic out of that
Yeah.
character and the ambiguity out of like where does he come from? Who is he? Who will he be?
It's
What
all
is he? How
gone.
long will he live?
Yeah.
Exactly. All those questions are now answered.
It takes all the
but not
thunder
in a
out of him.
good way.
Not in a good way.
yeah.
For me, it really did take all the fun out of the Grinch.
Right.
Just this weird creature that lived at the top of the hill.
I was gonna say we were talking before the show about like concrete endings to film
Yeah.
and like kind of leaving it open ended.
Like the
Leaving
difference in
character
both.
exactly leaving characters open ended. If it is a villain like this or like a character that works
Yeah.
or that has known to work with like an open ended kind of backstory or how they live or whatever,
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
Don't
and then,
touch it.
And then giving a concrete answer to that sometimes is bad.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
it's like answering the question of what's in the box in Pulp Fiction, like the golden.
yeah, what's in
you
the
know what I mean?
briefcase?
Yeah,
Or even like in Seven, what's in the box?
Exactly.
Like, it's definitely implied what's in the box.
Sure.
But there's no point to show it. Like,
Exactly.
It's so
That's the
it's so
whole
good.
point.
And like the famous example of this, well, I say famous, but we're film nerds. So like the thing we always think of
Yeah.
is horror movies.
Uh-huh.
You never want to show your monster that much.
No.
Like for me, the reason Halloween, the original, is still great. Well, it's not super scary anymore because it's from the 70s. I think it's 79 or something. But it's still so good because Michael Myers is just, there's no reason for what he's doing. You never see what he
Yeah.
even looks like. He's just killing just to kill.
Right.
That's what makes that so creepy.
Yeah.
Is they don't overly explain everything. There's
Yeah.
no weird backstory to him. He just killed his sister once and he escaped and now he's on the loose.
Right.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Like, then you have those horror movies that over-explain it, and you're like, oh, you just ruined your monster or villain.
Yeah.
So for the Grinch, he's meant to be this creepy dude that just is evil and he hates. That's all he does is hate. And then, like, they explain way too much. Like, oh, he's just in love with this girl, and he actually is just down bad, and he's just, like,
Yeah.
kind of like an incel. I'm like, oh, this
Yeah.
is so boring.
I will say last example because there's so many examples.
Yeah.
Of this, is the whole Jaws Spielberg thing. Spielberg has
Yeah.
openly said like if that animatronic thing worked, the movie would not be as good as it is today.
they would've showed it
because
more.
they would have showed it more. That was
Yeah.
in the original script.
And it takes
But
all the
because
fear out.
Exactly. Because of the constraints of the original robot for the shark, they couldn't show it as much
Couldn't
because it
show
was
it.
broken.
Yeah.
And they had to start shooting.
And it makes it way
It makes it
freakier.
so
Because you
much
never,
better.
your imagination does, like,
Exactly.
gymnastics to figure it out, and it makes it so much freakier.
Exactly.
Because you never really see the shark.
Yeah.
But the Grinch, the Grinch, like that's what makes the Grinch so cool is that he's this weird, like, Bigfoot kind of thing. And they ruined it, Nick. Nick, they ruined the Who's and they ruined Grinch.
I know.
The two things in this movie.
I will say I have yet to see the Benedict Cumberbatch one because I refuse to.
That's my least favorite of the three.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
I would probably argue that one's worse, and I don't know
I agree.
how it's worse.
I agree.
But
It's worse.
I'll eventually see it. Maybe not. We'll see.
I was gonna say, I don't know. Maybe one
10
day we'll
years when I
cover
have
it.
kids. Yeah.
Some are sequels.
Summer sequels. No one knows what that is yet. So
Sorry.
So yes. So Cindy Lou nominates the Grinch as the holiday cheermeister, which
Right.
infuriates the mayor because again, the mayor was dating Martha May. Maybe. Who
Yeah.
knows? He was in love with her.
Yes, still is.
Claims her. And and yeah, he doesn't like the Grinch. So he wants nothing to do with it because now he's the mayor. He's like the guy.
He's
And
big
then he
man in
doesn't want
charge.
him,
He's Jeffrey Tambor.
Yeah, he doesn't want the Grinch taking his spotlight.
Yeah, bad mayor, also bad dude in real life.
Yeah, sure. Right. So Cindy Lou goes to the Grinch's lair, and when he tries to scare her, she does not react, which I think is very funny.
She like laughs at him.
Yeah,
doesn't she?
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cute.
And she invites him to accept the award she nominated him for. After much argument, he tricks her into thinking he will go, and then launches her down a chute back to the town, which she weirdly enjoys. Like she
It's
slides
like
down.
I would too. It's like
Yeah,
a
she's
slide.
like, this is great.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
fun.
feel like it's like because it's like a trap door. I feel like the point to emphasize that she's enjoying it kind of again emphasizes like she's not scared by this guy.
No, not whatsoever.
It's not a trap door to her. It's a fun little thing back to town.
To her, he's just like fun Jim Carrey.
Yeah, exactly. I'm convinced she just was like, "You're not the Grinch. You're Jim.
You're
Carrey."
Jim. You're Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
And then Max, the dog, catches the invitation in his mouth.
Yeah.
And he begs
Real
Grinch
star
to
of the
go.
show, by the
Yeah,
way.
he's great. And back in Whoville, Martha and Cindy Lou's mom have their Christmas light showdown. This is where it kind of sort of comes back. With Martha being the winner yet again. I'm pretty sure.
Shocker.
I kind of glazed over that part. The
Fair.
Grinch shows up to the celebration, and they all welcome him with open arms. And it seems like he is starting to like Christmas because of all the positive attention. That's all he really wants is
Yeah.
some attention.
By the way, at this point,
Positively.
we're like, what, 30, 40 minutes in?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that the story the actual Grinch story still has yet to creep up whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
It's still random
He's
nonsense.
still not a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
No,
He's
had,
not.
The actual Grinch story has not happened. It's so weird.
They have to do all the table setting just to get to that 5 minutes.
Exactly.
And it seems like he's starting to like Christmas because of all this positive attention until the mayor gifts him the same razor that he gifted to him when they were kids. And the Grinch, in all of this trauma that's going through his head, freaks out and burns their Christmas tree to the ground, which is awesome. Because also, again, this is one of those things where I like just forgot that this happened, and then I was like,
tree to the
so
ground?
how are they going to sing around the Christmas tree? Lucky enough, they have a spare. That's exactly the same.
No, I think this is the scene. It could be this one or one coming up. I don't remember. Remember when I said sometimes you could tell they shot in a backlot?
Sure.
It was only one shot, and I wish I screenshotted it or time coded it.
Yeah.
But one of the shots, you have the Grinch. I think when he's in this small little car and he's driving away. And the sky is not a sky, and it's a black ceiling. And I swear you can see studio lights. I'm like, dog, what happened?
It's like supposed to be the moon, but you could tell it's like a Lico.
You can tell it's just like a light. It looks like one of the lights we have in the WCB studio. Like it's just black. It's just a ceiling. It's just you can see tiles. I'm like, what happened?
Oh,
what
God,
is this?
That's awesome.
Snowflake. This ain't a snowflake. That's Universal Lot 67. Nice try.
Oh God, you can see the snowflake on the studio backlot from the Universal Studios Hollywood.
I can see the PA up there.
Oh my God, yeah, you have a guy like waving his arms.
It's
in the
like
background.
a boom mic. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I was so stunned.
Oh God. Okay, so everyone panics, and the mayor calms them down by assuring them that Christmas is okay because the Grinch went back to his lair.
He's out.
And yay, they have a second tree.
Yeah,
you know,
still haven't gotten to the Grinch story yet.
Not yet. Grinch then realizes he should steal Christmas from the Who's because they were mean to him. So as he sings, "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch,"
Here we go.
Yes. We see him gear up to be Santa Claus and ruin the day.
Yeah, last 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah. And also, I made a note that it was weirdly reminiscent of Nightmare Before Christmas.
I was thinking that.
But Jack didn't really have bad intentions. He wanted to make it like a good Christmas, even
Jack
if it was like
positive.
evil.
Yeah.
But it was like the same thing. They were both like gearing up to like be Santa Claus.
Yeah.
I didn't really put that together.
I had the same thought, especially when I saw like Whoville. I'm like, oh, it's like Christmas Town. I'm like, it's got a very similar vibes.
Yeah. And then we proceed into this wildly long and very weird montage where we see the Grinch stealing everything like from the Who's.
Yeah.
And then
kind of.
It's like
I'll get into that in a second.
Really strange. I don't know if it's just because the animated version does it like so well.
It's the best part of that movie.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Like you can't.
He's slithering around and stuff.
He's looking directly in the camera, like winking at you. Yeah. He's doing. Oh, it's the best.
It's rad.
And just I don't know if it's the live action or like the dark studio lighting. I couldn't tell what it was.
It wasn't working.
It felt like a horror movie, but like even though it's like a weird, scary scene.
But it was like clearly a misfire.
Yeah,
like it wasn't meant to have that vibe.
It should, like in the animated film, it's like still very bright and still very colorful.
Yeah, and you see him take literally every single detail.
Yeah,
and like the back keeps filling up.
Right.
This one, like the sense of scale wasn't quite there.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not from what I remembered. And also, he's like kind of just like walking around. He like takes one or two things.
Yeah.
And then you cut away and the bag's already full. And you're like, what?
Yeah, it was weird.
But it's also long. But like, it's not.
But also, like nothing really happens in it. It's very strange. And there was one shot of like Anthony Hopkins is doing his voiceover, and it's at the point where it's like he left a crumb that was even too small for a mouse.
Oh yeah.
But the shot they showed, there's still like ornaments and stuff on the ground. So I'm like, he didn't take everything.
No, he didn't. That's
he
not
did
true.
Leave stuff. Yeah.
Rewrite that voiceover.
Rewrite the voiceover. And then at the end of the sequence, this is also one that really bothered me, not as much as the other two, obviously, but it was like a minor thing. But you see Whoville after he stole everything. There's Christmas stuff everywhere. The tree has everything. There's Christmas lights, wreaths. I'm like, he didn't take anything. Like, if you compare this Grinch to like the 1970s Grinch,
no, the 70s Grinch,
he got the job done.
House.
He cleaned house. He stole Christmas. This dude's a minor. He's a burglar.
This dude stole Christ.
Yeah,
he didn't steal Christmas.
This dude didn't do anything. This guy's weak. He stole half. Yeah, he stole Christ.
He stole Christ.
He stole Christ.
But anyways, this whole thing ends, and this is kind of where we get into like the actual story of the Grinch. That we all know and love. Yeah. But he's caught by Cindy Lou and assures her, like, while he pretends to be Santa, everyone knows this, but pretends to be Santa, that he's bringing back the tree to fix
it
light.
up. Yep.
And he brings all of the gifts to the top of the mountain where he lives, at the very, very top. And then he hears everyone wake up. He stole Christmas.
But
It's Christmas morning.
yes.
But their tree is still there.
Yes.
And they all get up
There's a
and they're
ton of
miserable.
Christmas stuff. Yeah, they're miserable. Nick, they missed the point of the movie.
But then, like, almost immediately they start singing because they
After a
all
lot of
realize that the true spirit of Christmas, they all become actual Who's.
Yes.
They're all inducted into Whoville the right way.
Yes, they are. It's like the way they did it. It took too long.
No, yeah. Sure.
I don't like that they had to be convinced to do it. Like
No,
they should
yeah.
just know. Like, it
It's
breaks
like the
my
whole
heart.
point of the characters.
Yeah, it breaks my heart.
But then, one very strange part that I didn't really enjoy watching in live action was when his heart grew 3 sizes.
Yeah,
Because you don't get, like, the X-ray. You
no,
just see...
he has like a heart attack. He has a stroke on top of a mountain.
Dude, he has a full-blown stroke, and
He
you're, like,
does.
watching him, like, suffer in live action in this horrible, like, costume, and he's, like, dying. And it's... Oh, and
I
you can
can't
kind
wait.
of see
It's creepy.
the heart, like,
you hear the heart
beating.
beat. It's so uncomfortable.
You see it, like, grow a little bit in his chest. You're
Yeah,
like,
I don't
oh.
like it at all. And I kept waiting because they have the X-ray machine like earlier in the movie when they see like his super small shriveled
Oh,
heart.
really?
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
like for
catch
2
that.
seconds.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, they're gonna bring it back.
No,
No, it's just Jim
No.
Carrey having like a stroke, a straight up stroke.
That's crazy.
It's like disturbing.
But yes, he is then full of joy, realizes that he wants to return the gifts to everyone, and he has the spirit of Christmas in him now,
Yes.
by magic. But they start falling off the edge of the mountain on the sleigh, and Cindy Lou, who visited the Grinch for Christmas,
She's at the
is on
top.
top of the sleigh
gonna
looking
die.
for him. She's like fully gonna die. And
I
then
was stunned.
he tries to like pull the thing back, and then he's like, I gotta save this little girl. She changed
Yeah.
my life. And he like fully lifts up the
Which is the Grinch
sleigh,
moment.
which is
Yeah,
awesome.
it's cool.
It's super epic. Especially like live action, I thought that did it justice. It was pretty
Yeah. It looked cool. I'll give you that.
yeah. And he saves her, and they bring the presents back to Whoville after like plummeting back to Earth,
Yeah, they
down the
do,
mountain.
yeah.
It's awesome. And everyone cheers for him except the mayor, because he's very petty about all the attention going from him to the Grinch.
Yeah, and his
and then his
girl's
girl-
definitely into the Grinch, dude.
Yeah, because she breaks up with him.
Goes right to the Grinch.
Yeah, gives back the ring. Oh yeah, also I forgot to mention earlier, not that it matters, but
Oh,
the
yeah,
mayor like
proposed,
proposes.
right?
Yeah. It's a stupid little.
Yeah,
throwaway
gives
thing.
back the ring, goes
Yeah.
hooks up with the Grinch.
Yeah, big time.
Who wouldn't, dude?
Yeah, Martha May, admits she's in love. Maybe more than in love.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Dude, she's in lust.
she's in lust.
Dude, she wants Grinch,
If you
dude.
can define lust, it's her for the Grinch. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, and then I didn't realize that the Grinch hosts the Christmas dinner.
Yeah, that's in the original too.
I just
she
forgot
carves the
about that.
beast.
Yeah, but I didn't realize that like it was at his cave.
Oh, I don't think it was at his cave in the original.
No, but it is in this.
It is
movie.
in this one, which I
Yeah.
thought was weird.
Very weird.
Yeah.
He's just like, welcome to my home.
I kind of like that.
No one's been in here. It
Who,
stinks. It's like disgusting.
Yeah, like I like that in the original, the Grinch never came down before stealing Christmas.
Yeah.
So when he came down after stealing, even though he stole everything, they just accepted him no problem. And then he
Sure.
carved dinner with them. It's weird that he's been down before and then he's hosting at the cake, like the mountain.
Yeah. He's like, come on, guys, let's hike.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go for
like
a hike in the
6
snow.
hours
Yeah.
up a giant mountain for. I'm like, all right.
And he like not 3 seconds ago just plummeted back down on
Yeah,
a
he
sleigh.
did. Yeah.
And he's like, oh god.
With the little girl,
Yeah.
this big green monster with this tiny little girl. No one's batting an eye on that. All right.
But he hosts a Christmas dinner, and as I love to say on this show, all is well in the world.
All is well in the world.
Specifically in Whoville.
All is
In the
well in a snowflake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final thoughts. Do you want to start?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So, in season 2 fashion, I didn't mind it that much.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Well, okay. Well, here's my thing: is last time I watched this, it was in high school because I watched all 3 in like one day.
oh.
For some, I think it was like with my girlfriend at
That's
the
a
time.
lot
I was
of
like, we should watch
Grinch.
all Grinch away. And I remember this one being so annoying that I almost turned it off. So I went into it with such low expectations,
say,
which
'cause-
definitely helped.
Talking about this movie
Yeah.
prior, I was nervous.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So I went in with such low expectations, which definitely helped. I thought Jim Carrey was great. I remember him really not liking him, but I thought he was actually really good.
Yeah.
Some of the humor, especially his stuff, I thought worked.
Mm-hmm.
I think my biggest, like outside of like the performance of him and Cindy Lou Who and some of the jokes, I do think it like fundamentally misunderstands the story of the Grinch.
Yeah.
And it screws up the Who's, the Grinch himself. And even because of all the stuff they did to set up the actual Grinch story, it makes the actual story weaker
Yeah.
because the stuff following it isn't great. So there are good elements to it. I just think overall it's pretty weak.
Yeah.
I would just go watch the original.
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I can get
It's
on
been done
board
better.
because also it's like 15 minutes or however long
Yeah,
the
it's like
original is.
50.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's nothing.
I will say, while over the course of the episode, I agreed with basically every point.
He ragged on it pretty hard.
Yes, and I fundamentally like agree with the point that the Who's are not who they're supposed to be, and that was always from day one. I always like that was my one thing that
It's
I
just like a bummer. Yeah.
However,
you love this movie.
I love this movie.
You loved?
I highly like.
Wow.
I will not put it in the love category.
Okay.
But I think again in season 2 fashion, I think because the nostalgia like heavily
It's a big one.
kicked in,
Yeah, that's fair.
and also I really liked Jim Carrey as the Grinch. Some of his physical humor, combining with like slapstick, and then also like some of the witty like dialogue.
Yeah, for sure.
He does a fantastic
Especially knowing what he went through for this. You know what I mean?
Knowing the whole production.
That is very true.
All this money they paid, all the whatever.
All the hurdles they had to go through with
Exactly.
Dr. Seuss's wife.
Comparing it to Cat in the Hat. Like I don't know. I just have such an affection for this movie.
I get it. I
Here's
do
the
get
thing
it.
though too is I went in assuming that I wasn't gonna like it because it's
also
Cat in the Hat.
expectations. Yeah.
And then by the end I was like, there are objectively things that I do not like about this movie.
Fair.
But I couldn't get that feeling out of my body that I had a really good time watching.
It's like kind of warm.
It
nice
was really
little
warm.
nostalgic
I think
feeling.
again, it's the season. I'm in the season of giving. It's this
You're wearing a Christmas sweater
season,
right now.
Christmas sweater. It was the best. I had such a fun time.
That
watching
is
this
fair.
movie.
I really didn't mind it. Like,
Yeah.
there are definitely parts of this movie that are strong.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
especially when you compare it to Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
that's such a crazy, like not tonal, but crazy quality difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anyways, with all that being said about the Grinch, one final thought on how the Grinch stole Christmas.
I can't believe this got greenlit.
I will say, we forgot to mention at the top of the episode, this is our last movie that we're covering of
last
the
movie season 2. Yeah.
Which is kind of sad now that we're like done.
I know. It's the last
It's
movie
really
of the season
sad.
2 and last movie of 2023.
Oh, 2023. Oh.
Yeah, dude, if hopefully
This
season
entire
3
show
next
has
year.
existed in 2023. There has never been a show outside
Oh my
of 2023.
god, that's true.
That's insane.
The show's almost a year old, dude.
That's
Think
insane
about
to
that. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you to our guests, Cindy Lou Who and the Grinch for
Yes,
being
thank
here.
you guys.
This was such
You
a
killed
fun
it.
episode. Tune in next week. I'm really excited.
Yeah, you want to explain this one?
So tune in next week for the first annual Greenlit Awards. It's our season 2 finale.
Yeah.
But it's our version of the Oscars. So we will be covering some of the best and worst from the Greenlit Vault, such as Worst Picture, Worst Character or Worst Actor in any category,
Yep.
and Best McDonald's Collaboration, and so much more. Stay tuned for that.
Next
We're
week.
so excited about that episode and kind of everything going forward with Greenlit. We're having so much fun with the show. It's only just beginning.
Yeah, we have some cool stuff planned. We really do. So
Definitely.
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week
And hey,
for the first annual Greenlit Awards.
happy holidays, guys.
Happy holidays.
Go live it up.
Live it up. We love you all. Bye.
Bye.